We'll call to order the March 17, 2016 meeting of Ascension Parish Council. Would everyone please stand for the invocation given by CEO Ken Dawson, and please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Let us pray. Father, we thank you for all the blessings you bestowed upon us. And as we come into this season to celebrate Easter, we pray that the real meaning of the sacrifice of your son Jesus be upon our hearts. We ask that you bless families during this time. And as we do the people's business, we pray for your wisdom. We thank you for the opportunity to serve because they are great in your kingdom. And we thank you for the knowledge and ability to serve the people of Ascension Parish well. And we give you all the glory and praise in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Ken. And that CAO, I gave you a raise a while ago.
Thank you, sir.
Roll call. Madam Secretary, please note that Councilman Oliver Joseph is not here, and we wish him luck with a speedy recovery. And Councilman Bill Dawson's not here, couldn't make it tonight. And I think Councilman Johnson should be coming in the door any minute. He's on his way. There's no chairs additions, but at the request of the East Ascension Drainage and the chairman of that, we'd like to pull agenda item number 11. Everyone please note of that. Public comment period. Anyone wishing to speak on an agenda item, please sign in with the secretary and you'll be given time when that item comes up. We'll move into our presentations, and I'd like to invite the folks from the American Cancer Society up here and Paint the Town Purple Ascension Relay for Life team. Let's bring the gang up here. Before they get started, everyone, it's a very, very worthy cause, and probably not a family amongst us, and definitely this board up here that there's one of us and multiple family members that have been through that disease. And so I give you the mic.
My name is Roxanne. I'm one of the co-chairs this year of Relay for Life. We are, our event this year is April 30th at Cabela's. It is from 6 to midnight. Our opening ceremonies are at 6. Our Paint the Town Purple, which we invite everyone to wear purple that day in Ascension Parish, and we do that in honor of the ones still fighting, and we do that in honor of the ones that we've lost in their memory. That is April 22nd of this year, and we invite everybody to wear we have Paint the Town Purple shirts, and we also invite anybody just to wear purple for that day also.
Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome.
And being a part of it many times, I just want to express to everyone that you can actively take part in this through donations, through going out there and taking part of the festivities that are there. Show the support, and show the support for those of you and your family that you've lost. And one of the things I want to especially some of the angels that we've had in our lives as the caretakers, the caregivers.
Absolutely.
That has really brought us through some of the things that we went through, and we thank them so very much. God puts them in front of us every day. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank y'all so much.
Parish President.
Okay, I want to thank Ms. Kim Myers and the organization for Relay for Life. Paint the Town Purple is a fundraiser for them, and we have a proclamation here to proclaim April 22nd through 30th, 2016, Paint the Town Purple, Ascension Parish, Louisiana.
Thank you so much.
And appreciate you very much.
step in the picture, can't do nothing but make y'all look better. And you said the survival lap is at 6? Good deal. We'll move into our next presentation, Autism Awareness Month. Parish President, Ms. Jamie Tender.
Ms. Jamie Tisdale? Okay, this is a proclamation of April 2016 as Autism Awareness Month. And, autism is a lifelong developmental difference associated with significant alterations of the individual ability to learn in the same way as others, which may include differences in social behaviors and communications. So I would like everyone to stand behind this organization, which affects 1 out of 68 children, correct?
And 1 in 54 boys. And that number is projected to change to 1 in 45, I think, later in the year.
So that is very terrible to hear, but this organization of autism awareness, we just want to make everyone aware that this is the month of April, and we are proclaiming this in Ascension Parish. Thank y'all very much.
May I address the council just for a second?
Yes, please.
Oh, okay, sorry. Well, Jamie Tyndall, I'm with Families Helping Families of Greater Baton Rouge. So we're a nonprofit that has served Ascension Parish along with 7 other parishes for nearly 20 years. But we've always had amazing support from Ascension Parish, and we want to continue to thank you for that and tell you how important this event is, because on April 30th, Saturday, April 30th, and by the way, just to mention, we'll have our entertainment will be provided by your very own Lester Kenyon. We're super excited. Lester's always on board with us. But it's an amazing event. There's usually 5,000 to 6,000 people, many with autism and their families affected by autism, that are on the grounds of the Louisiana State Police. And Colonel Edmondson's always there with us, and this year we'll have Daniel Noacklisage, who is an ABA therapist. But an amazing event, a 5K, which I'm sure y'all want to run that. I'll be walking afterward. But it's the only fundraiser that we have that fully supports the Resource Center for Autism Spectrum Disorders located at our center and serves the parishes. So I didn't want to take up a lot of time because I actually have a family from Ascension. I'm actually your neighbor, though, in Livingston Parish, and let's just stay dry, right? But a family from right here in Ascension Parish that just wanted to say a couple of words, if that would be okay.
Please, step to the mic.
Hi, I'm Candace Nemo, born and raised in Gonzales, and now we're in Prairieville. So love Ascension Parish. This is my son, Matthew Nemo. And we have been, Families Helping Families has been a support for us since he was like toddler or younger. So I'm really glad that that they're there, and we have them to go to for support. And I think my son might want to say a little bit something. Want to tell us about the walk?
It's April 30th. I encourage everybody to come out and enjoy the team.
What's the name of it?
It's Team Nemo. And I'd like to thank especially Mr. Kenny Matassa.
Yeah, good job.
That's it.
Thank you guys very much. Thank y'all for coming. With that, we'll move right into the parish president report. Parish President Matassa.
Thank you, Chairman and Council. Tonight, I want to thank everyone who has worked this rain event. Our employees worked tirelessly and did a great job. And you council did a great job also with everything that y'all did. And I want to call Rick Weber up at this time to give us some details on the event.
Mr. Chairman, members of the council, if you just give me a minute, I want to thank my peers and all of my, in the departments in parish government. I got a staff of 4. They do a fantastic job, but I can't do this alone, so their help was instrumental. Anything I asked for, it was there, so I definitely appreciate their help and the leadership from, and guidance from the administration. I gave you a packet real quick. I apologize for the notes, but it'll just give you a takeaway of what I'm going to talk about. It looks like a lot, but this will brief really quick. What we had was actually an incident with 2 cascading events. One was the first heavy rainfall in the central watershed of the parish, and then the backwater flooding in the Amite River. The second slide that you see in there is kind of a graphic of the precipitation that fell over the whole incident. But we're looking at 6 to 9 inches in the central watershed, isolated 10 inches in some area, and then 10 to 15 inches throughout the Amite River Basin that caused most of the backwater flooding along Bayou Manchac, Diversion Canal, and the Amite River Basin. If you look at slide 3, we had pre-staged sandbags, about 30,000 pre-staged sandbags in 7 locations throughout the parish. They were in seagoing containers. That was a project that we had just completed right before this incident transpired. We need 3 more locations, so we're looking at about 40 to 50,000 sandbags is what Ascension Parish currently needs to handle a moderate flooding event. So, I can't thank Drainage enough, and they helped us fill those things up right before the event. But when the first incident was over, right before the backwater started, we had used 75% of the sandbags in the containers. So we know that the sandbags, the filled sandbags, will handle a pretty good size flooding event. So we need 3 more locations, but after that, we filled an additional 60,000 sandbags, and then that's in addition to what the residents filled. So we're looking at about 80, 90, 100,000 sandbags is what was put out there. So it was a catastrophic event. It wasn't as bad as they said as far as the crest goes, but it was still a significant event for us. 1 foot makes a big difference throughout the parish, so we were glad that the crest didn't peak as where they said it wanted it to peak. Drainage crews worked around the clock, providing sandbags, barricades. Law enforcement provided security. I can't thank fire enough. They were out there helping us. They made at least 1 rescue in one of your areas, so we definitely appreciate their help. Law enforcement was out looking at that as hazard identification. They did a great job in that. If you look at slide 5, human services, American Red Cross, we provided cleaning kits, comfort items that's being distributed now at the Galvez Lake Fire Station on Joseph Area Road. We also distributed some of that in Darrah at the 5th Ward Fire Station. We opened a very small shelter. We only had 3 people that required the shelter for the storm, but it was open. That closed as of 7 o'clock this morning. I want to thank Volunteer Ascension for helping with that, and the mental health department that helped us run that shelter. Early damage assessment. Now, these numbers are going to change, but slide 6 shows you what we have so far as affected homes. We had 12 homes that were affected by floodwater, major damage 35, minor 18, and destroyed 1, so a total of 66. Again, that's going to grow. That's really early in the process, but what we're going to do is give a spreadsheet to the assessor's office so we can get a value on the homes that were damaged, so we can give you an indication on where that is, and we'll break it out by council district so we can show you where the issues are, so we'll get that to you as quickly as we can. Federal declaration, I just heard this morning that without the damage assessment, without a complete damage assessment, we actually made the cut. We made the 3rd cut for a federal declaration, yes. And what that did for us was give us individual assistance that can get the resources into the parish that our residents need, number 1. Second, it helped us with public assistance, so that gives us category A and B, FEMA's category A and B, debris removal, and emergency protective measures, so we can get reimbursed for our response to the incident. We want to work with them to go from category C through G. That's going to be critical to our road and bridges. We know we're going to sustain damage to road and bridge because of the flood. We want to make sure we get that category in place. So good news, we made the 3rd round of cuts for the federal declaration. Again, still in a recovery process. Damage assessment is going to continue. Again, the parishes, all parishes in the state are competing for constrained resources, some really limited resources. We're going to compete with them. We're going to do the absolute best that we can to get the resources in for our residents. We want to open a disaster recovery center in Ascension Parish so our residents can start doing FEMA applications and get FEMA assistance from them. If you look on the next sheet, if you can tell your constituents, this is what's contained within the disaster recovery center. You know, guidance regarding disaster recovery, clarification of written correspondence received from FEMA, housing assistance, rental resources, all of these things are what they can receive. So if you can help me kind of spread the word on that when it does come open, it's not open yet, but we project that getting an answer within the next week or so. Slide 10, we're working with the Department of Family Services. We're trying to get a DSNAP, a Disaster Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, a point here in the parish where we can issue that. Again, very early in the process. We don't have a confirmed date on it, but we're trying to do that, and we're trying to coordinate it because it's going to be very difficult to figure out who was impacted and who was not impacted. So we need to work really close with DCFS on that to figure that out. If you guys can help us with debris removal, that's going to be the thing that we look at over the next 72 hours. This is going to determine, once the water completely recedes, how much debris that we have, and do we need a monitor, do we need a debris removal contractor. We can only look at 4 categories of debris: vegetative, construction, demolition, and white goods. And the next 2 slides that you have in your packet kind of illustrates the debris stream. If you can help us put this out to the public, where to put it in the road, how to assemble it, don't put it all in one pile, separate vegetative from white goods, which is washers and dryers and electronics. Keep it separated. Don't put it near utility poles. Don't put it near the telephones, because a grapple truck will come in there and disconnect your utilities. So if you can help us put that word out, we would definitely appreciate it. So in summary, moving forward, we're moving from response to the recovery phase. Ascension Parish government is going to focus on damage assessment, debris removal, and we want to do a really good hard assessment on a road and bridge, because that's going to be critical. And then we're going to, my office is really going to continue moving forward to get the assistance that we need moving into the parish for our residents. And look, I want to thank all of y'all. Y'all showed some really great leadership out there, and I appreciate all the information and the data that you provide in my office, so thank you. So other than that, that concludes my briefing, and I'll be subject to your questions.
Thank you very much, Ricky. I'm sure I speak for everybody that we appreciate the job that all the departments done to get out there day and night and move forward. I don't know of anybody that's made a request to any department and to OEP to try to, get some help, special help, get somebody, get a road blocked off, get some help, get people out, whatever. I hadn't heard any complaints at all.
Thank you, good.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. President.
I just want to thank Rick and his crew again for what they did. And let me tell you something. I went up with him. He is a good pilot, by the way. I went up with him Sunday, and the pictures he took helped us in getting that declaration done quickly. So he did a great job on that. I just want to thank him again.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. Does that conclude your report, or you?
No, I have, my administration is ready to return to the council the impact fee analysis. I'd like to again thank the Impact Fee Study Committee for all their comprehensive report. Our planning and zoning, engineering, finance, legal department, we've all reviewed and approved this analysis. Well, Neil Parrington will provide an overview during the appropriate agenda item at that time. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. With that, we have a request by several council members that we want to congratulate them. They have children that are graduating, and we have ring ceremony in about 15 minutes. So the chair, along with the vice chair, would like to request that we move from agenda item 6 and skip down to agenda item number 10, 12, and 13.
A motion that, Mr. Chairman.
Second that
We have a motion by Mr. Todd Lambert, second by Mr. Lawler.
I just don't want Benny here any longer.
Any objections? So be it. This time, we'll move down to the introduction of ordinances. Introduction of ordinance number 10, introduction of ordinance to amend the 2016 budget. Mr. Parrington. Wait, I wanted to move to 12 and 13. Yes, I apologize.
Motion to introduce.
Yes, I watched him read so much. Motion introduced by Mr. Todd Lambert.
Second.
By Mr. Benny Johnson. Any discussion? Any opposition? It is introduced. We pulled number 11. Number 12, introduction for ordinance to amend the
Motion to introduce.
Chapter 19 of Ascension Parish Code to impose transportation impact fees. We have motion introduced by
Second.
Ms. Cazzo, second by Mr. Cagnolotti. We have speakers on this agenda item. But go ahead, Mr.
Council
Parrish,
members,
first.
let me tell you what we did. After the Finance Committee meeting, the administration was tasked at looking at the impact fee proposal that came from the Impact Fee Committee. What the president first asked me to do was see what happens in Louisiana. So I went to Lexis, which is the search tool that the DA's office provides me, and I went to every ordinance in Louisiana dealing with impact fees, either in the city or the parishes. There's not as many as you think. Councilman Lawler pointed out that, I'm sorry, Aaron, pointed out that Folsom had some enabling legislation, and so I found that, and I also found that St. Tammany had gone to the legislature and had enabling legislation for impact fees. Those were the only two that we found. When I went through the ordinances, only 3 people have transportation impact fees. East Baton Rouge, the town of Zachary, and St. Tammany has it included in their impact fee. Most people, many have sewer, a few have water, none have fire, which we were asked to look at, none have recreation per se, none have storm water. West Baton Rouge tried that. West Baton Rouge enacted an ordinance in 2004 for traffic, drainage, wastewater, stormwater, recreation. It never got off the ground. The Attorney General looked at it and said, it's a tax. You can't do that. So it never got off the ground. Folsom had an enabling legislation that included a laundry list of items to have an impact fee. That was done in 2006. They never acted on it. In 2015, they passed an ordinance, but I don't think they followed their law because their law said they had to bring it to the public and vote on it. But they did enact what they called an infrastructure impact fee at 50 cents a square foot for residential, $2,500 plus 50 cents a square foot for commercial, only if the commercial was over 3,500 square feet. As far as traffic, well, even after that, what we decided to do, there may be more out there. So we went and did a Google search and saw who might have impact fees, and we looked from there. 2 things that were interesting was the town of Covington and Youngsville hired Duncan and Associates to do studies, but never passed impact fees. But I went through East Baton Rouge. They have traffic. It's $731 per household for traffic. Their most expensive is a C-store, which is $3,400 for every 1,000 square feet. They have sewer. West Baton Rouge, again, got theirs shot down. They have none. The city of Zachary has traffic, $150 per residence. And then they also have sewer, but their sewer is similar to Baton Rouge. Baton Rouge and some of the other sewers do it by the size of the meter. They don't do it by residents, they do it by the size of the meter. Central has sewer, they do it by the size of the meter. Iberville Parish has none. The city of Hammond has sewer. There's a $65 per fixture in residential, not to exceed $500. Port Allen has a garbage fee. I missed that one. It's $16.55 one time. Denham Springs has sewer based on a water meter. St. Tammany today has a combined sewer and road fee. It's $2,100.91 per residence. It was reduced 29%. It used to be $3,000, but they reduced it 29% recently. Folsom has an infrastructure fee, but it's 50 cents a square foot. Mandeville has a residential water fee and a residential sewer fee, and their commercial is 4 cents per a square foot. Gonzales has a sewer fee. Albany has a water fee. It's $100 if you're in town, $150 if you're outside of town. Addis has a sewer fee of $1,500, and it's split between at the issuance of the approval of the subdivision and then the issuance of the occupancy certificate. Bossier Parish has various water districts, and theirs is $1,000 per hookup. Lafourche Parish one time tried to pass an impact fee that combined everything. They tried to pass a 1% impact fee on pipelines that ran through Lafourche Parish, and the AG's office said, no, that's a tax. Terrebonne Parish does have what's called a coastal restoration zone restoration fee, but it's only if you live in the coastal restoration zone, and it's $1,000 for a residential. So essentially, those are what the impact fees are in the state of Louisiana. We looked in Calcasieu Parish because we knew Lake Charles was under a big building boom. They have none. After that, I met with the planning department, the engineering department, and the parish president and the administration, and the recommendation is to enact an impact fee based on what the committee that studied it for 2 years and did the work they did, what they recommended.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we have some speakers. Miss Linda Ezernak.
My name is Linda Ezernak. I'm from District 7. And this is where a lot of the subdivisions are going up. And I don't really have a prepared speech, but I'm here to support the impact fees. And I would like to see the commission work really hard and get all the balances and checks made so that we can proceed and start this. The subdivisions need to slow down. I'm not against people building subdivisions, but I am against them coming in and overriding our roads, our schools, our sewer systems, and we can't seem to find a solution. And so I am very much in support of impact fees, and I hope that with the new members that we can get it together and make some decisions and move forward with it.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Next, we have Mr. Jeff Pettit.
My name is Jeff Pettit. I live in District 10 on Family Road. I have one question. Mr. Parrington, what are Gonzalez's impact fees? We skipped over that dollar
No,
amount.
they're sewer fees.
And-
They're done by the size of the meter.
And what's the,
I think it's 2,100, 2,600, 2,700 for a residence.
okay, which is more than the unincorporated part of the parish pays at this point, I believe?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. I'd just like to have that out there for a frame of reference. Thank you, Mr. Parrington, for all the information. That was a wealth of information. I appreciate it. My problem with considering impact fees this quickly is that there was a motion for a moratorium that came up before the Finance Committee under Ms. Casso, and Mr. Chafisi came back with a recommendation based on a study that was 10 years old and updated, and it was a very thorough presentation. But my problem is that we're going to consider passing or introducing an ordinance for impact fees now before we consider the ordinance for a moratorium. I think we've got the cart before the horse, and I would ask you all to consider the moratorium first and then give the council time, our elected representatives time, to thoroughly review the information that President Matassa, his administration have put together based on the recommendation from the committee that Gasper Chafisi chaired for 2 years. I don't think we've had enough time to thoroughly review that process, or y'all have not had maybe as much time to review it and go back to your constituents and ask them their thoughts and get the input from them and then make a decision. So I would ask you to pass on this tonight and put it down the road. It's already been 2 years. What's another 2 weeks? And give everybody some time to thoroughly review the administration has done. You know, all of y'all, all of us, the voters, the residents, and then let's make a decision. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. And next we have Ms. Catherine Goppelt.
Thank you. The introduction on impact fees, like Mr. Pettit says, really puts the cart before the horse, because a moratorium, the 6-month pause in new approvals of subdivisions in East Ascension, sets the stage for your impact fees. It gives the council time to deliberate and prevents a rush to judgment. An introduction is not a passage. Any communication now indicating that this impact fee ordinance is going to pass would be ex parte or illegal. Have you polled each other? Much can change in 2 weeks' time. We just had one person fired in the administration who could have helped us provide technical information in this discussion. Impact fees have been used before without legal challenges, or if they've been challenged, they've been held up by the courts, when ordinances are properly drafted and appropriate to address the infrastructure needs of the future development. I just have 3 comments about the ordinance itself. First of all, it's inappropriate. The motion made by Councilman Casso was to bring the issue before the council for discussion, not as an ordinance. The council never discussed this ordinance. A committee that was heavily represented by builders and developers proposed this ordinance, and one has to ask who's running the parish. This ordinance is inadequate. The ordinance is meant to address the infrastructure needs brought on by new development, but only addresses roads. You've previously talked about schools, sewer, police and fire protection, recreation, all these needs that must be addressed with new development. Thirdly, the ordinance is illegal. No study, according to LARS 33112, was done to determine the fees proposed. Mr. Chafisi has admitted these fees were arbitrarily chosen, and he used that word. This ordinance will not stand scrutiny in the courts. You will lose litigation. Suppose the builder sues the parish and you lose. You are left empty-handed without a moratorium, if you fail to pass that, to address the continued development. Inappropriate, inadequate, illegal. I believe the best action at this time would be to postpone this introduction until the council has had time to discuss, to broaden the scope beyond roads, and to make sure fees are not arbitrarily determined. I'd like to place these comments in the public record. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. That's all the speakers we have. We have a motion and a second to introduce the ordinance. Any objection?
Yep.
Yes.
Not objection, Mr. Chairman. Discussion. Thank you. I would like to thank Mr. Parrington for the information that I did not have coming into here, because it is helpful, although it hits me kind of cold, and so I'm sort of supportive of the 2 public speakers this afternoon about the fact that as a council we really never have discussed this ordinance in, I'll just add, in any great depth. I mean, we had a discussion at finance, but time up, Mr. Chairman. And that discussion was along the lines of what I guess Ms. Guppelt had to say, that we had a motion. I looked at the film. I'm sure this is so, to have our parish president and his staff, and in answering to Mr. Joseph, Councilman Joseph, we were given every assurance that despite the firing of Mr. Compton, that there is staff there in planning and zoning, there is consultants and so forth, and of course with Mr. Parrington, legal advice as well. But we had said 30 days, and then I find, well, as I just said, it's right back in front of us. That said, okay, I'm very, very interested in seeing the next item pass as well, because the next item is an issue, the moratorium that was built through our strategic planning committee in a 5-0 vote, as everyone knows, with impact fees being the trigger, so to speak, of whether or not the moratorium gets off the ground, or is it a very short period of time, or a full 6 months, depending on when we get impact fees. So here we are tonight. Now, damn the torpedoes full speed ahead. I would like to change that and put a comma after damn. And then everybody pause. Watch what happens. Damn the torpedoes. You see? We don't need the torpedoes coming after us. We need to be in sync with them. We do represent the public. The public I define very broadly as not only the developers, but the other members of the public that aren't developers. And we're all in it together. That said, the ordinance that's about to go forward, I believe is premature for, Mr. Chairman, and I know you won't allow this, well over a dozen reasons, serious defects. I would like to at least address 2 tonight, because I believe we're probably going to introduce this, and I'd like to at least have some say as to what is it we're introducing. First of all, let's talk about the 2 things. The fee schedule, as it came out of Mr. Chafisi's schedule, that's been alluded to already, that was not in my packet 2 days ago when I first got the agenda. It is now. It was added, I understand, from our secretaries just today, and it's little more than the same 3 columns that Mr. Chafisi recommended. I remind everybody, column A was the 2006 Duncan numbers, which are 10 years dated. The second column was Mr. Chafisi's personal numbers, which is not the recommendation of the committee because he's just one person. And the third is the one that the public referred to, I think both speakers, as being arbitrary, the words of the chairman, Mr. Chafisi, which was the consensus of the committee. Those consensus numbers I've already referenced as being, I believe I used the term woefully low. I still believe that's the case. And I think they're largely unacceptable. Even using Mr. Chafisi's numbers and so forth that are much closer to the 10-year outdated numbers. And again, I'm not sure what the president is recommending because the 3 numbers are in there again. I haven't heard anybody say which column is going to be in this as the attachment to this. And please let me finish to this ordinance. And the bottom line of that is, if we accept the words arbitrary, if we accept the words, what did I hear last time? It's more or less, in answer to my questions, filling in the blanks. I even saw the word that, the date it was done, it was quite a spectacle, quote unquote. Well, I don't want to be sued, and I don't think the parish wants that either. So how do we get rid of this arbitrariness? Well, we can say we're not going to do that, and we'll go with Mr. Chafisi's numbers, but that's arbitrary too, because it's one person versus a consensus of the committee. So now we're all the way back to square zero, something we knew 10 years ago, the Duncan numbers. Real problem there, ladies and gentlemen, is that they're outdated by 10 years. They're not even adjusted by some sort of escalator, as Mr. Compton would talk about it. And yes, I am talking to him almost on a daily basis. I'll just make this statement. I thought he'd be so bitter he wouldn't even want to talk to a guy like me. But he's not. And he says, I need to say this, Randy.
Well, you're getting off the subject. Okay.
He said, I still live in the parish. I don't think that's off the subject.
Yeah.
And I think he has a right to still advise. So I asked him, what would you do as the former director? Because I didn't know who to ask inside the parish. And here's what he said. And I want to say I concur with it. To get rid of the arbitrary stigma, why don't we just calculate the impact fees? This is a KISS principle. Keep it simple, stupid. On a per trip basis, just as used in the engineering ITA manual, which Neil Schaefer uses all the time in the traffic impact studies. The parish uses it. The Department of Transportation and Development uses it, so forth and so on. By using this proposed trip generation number approach in the IT manual with a base multiplier, say for example $300, using the example of just a subdivision, you no longer have to worry about square footage of it, nothing. It's just a dwelling unit. And you could multiply that number, $300, by what you would see in that manual. The most current issue, I believe, has a value in there of like 9.3437, something like that. And you get around $2,700. Guess what happens? If you take the consumer price index or cost of living or some other measurement of inflation for the last 10 years, and you multiply yearly over each of the 10 years, the number that Duncan recommended for that single detached dwelling, on average, across all the square footages that a dwelling could be, you get to about $2,700. And tonight I heard that that's around $3,000 is what St. Tammany did from the lips of Mr. Parrington when they were experiencing the height of their growth, even though they've reduced it now. So
No, sir, let me direct that. It wasn't, it was water, it was drainage and transportation was 3,000. So it was not just, it was not 3,000, that was two of them combined. So I don't want to be misquoted. I'm going to make sure the facts
Can you
are
clear
correct.
up for us which fee schedule we proposing tonight?
The administration is proposing the one that came out of the committee, the one that was the recommendation of the committee, which was the.
Okay, all right. But let me say it a little bit differently then. And I don't want to misquote you, Mr. Parent. I just complimented you for doing the work. I wish I'd have had some of this
Well, I know, but
information
it was a
earlier.
misquoting because it was the two of them added together. There was not $3,000, it was two services together.
Right. Nonetheless, okay, a professional we hired in 2006, which you said has been hired by lots of different folks, recommended a number bigger than the number the committee recommended by a great bit. So we can argue till the cows come home what that's supposed to be, and that's supposed to be our job. And frankly, that's what I was looking to come back. I reiterate, I didn't get any information back as to which one of the three columns are being recommended. But I believe by using this trip generation system that Mr. Compton has come up with and I concur with, that could be handled. A second problem amongst the 12, 5 districts. It's my understanding that he has contacted multiple of his colleagues and friends in planning departments in other counties in the state of Florida, elsewhere, that when you do 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, that was even discussed at one time, districts, 1 per each of the 11 council districts, 99% of the time, new impact fee ordinances reduce the numbers of the districts back down to 2 or 3 at most. Why, you may ask? The fewer the zones, the greater the flexibility for the parish to spend the dollars where the need is the greatest. If you box yourself in and you've got all these zones and you're collecting it in a certain geographical area that it has to be spent in, but a corridor close by a boundary of one or more other districts is where you could really make the best impact by spending the money there, you can't do so. So he has proposed, and again, I concur with it, and that's again why I think that the speakers were right. This is all premature. 3 zones. 2, and I'll go ahead and hand it out right now. I asked Mr. Brandon O'Day to prepare a map that I could hand out on the East Bank, 1 on the West Bank. The 2 on the East Bank would essentially divide our parish into a north and south quadrant, and that would begin on Highway 74, going to the airline, and then going just for a small jag, as you can see in the map, north on airline until you pick up LA 934, Black Bayou Road, and go east from there, extending that line all the way as an imaginary line, no longer a road, to the East Parish line. And everything above that line, the north, pictured in the map I just handed out, and maybe that could be shared with the parish president and his extra copies. I did 15. The Prairieville area primarily, okay, in green, and then below that line in yellow on the East Bank, which would incorporate also the incorporated cities of Sorrento and Gonzales, which are depicted in the map in red in terms of their city limits, and then the last color blue on the other side of the Mississippi, which is, of course, the West Bank. So we can introduce tonight, and I'm not going to fight that, but I'd like the audience to say which is the numbers to see if we can at least agree on what are the numbers. And I'd like to change this district thing. And I'd like to say one more thing. If you go with this calculation on a per trip basis, you get rid of 32 arbitrary numbers for sure. And you go with one that lots and lots of people are using all across the United States and has withstood legal challenge over and over and over again. And if you use an escalator like the cost of living, or I prefer actually the best estimate of inflation, I think, is the consumer price index. And you escalate each year. We don't have to even go back and alter our ordinance. It just automatically goes up by that cost of living amount every year. That also gets rid of another big thing that I have a problem. I said I'd do two, but I'm going to take one more. Alternative fee calculations. It goes on in my ordinance for like 4 or 5 pages, including a table that has such things in it as VMP, PHT, length, percent new, net cost divided by VMT, cost by VMT, cost by VMC, VMC divided by VMT, et cetera. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I'm a retired college professor, and I see some of the smiling and chuckling in the audience. I read it about 10 times, and I can't understand it. Former director Ricky Compton tells me he can't understand it, and he is legitimately, I think, an expert. So, again, the KISS principle, do we really need all that confusion? In fact, if you go with the ITE manual, instead of 32 categories, you have hundreds of categories just for transportation, covered with a multiplier, and you get rid of a 19-page ordinance down to, I don't know, a 5 or 6 one. Very, very simple approach. So that's what I have to say about it. Thanks for listening, as always. And if need be, Mr. Chairman, I can make this as a form of a motion if we want to wait and consider even some more things. But if we're going to go through with this, I mean, I would at least ask this council to consider changing the district numbers, changing the way we're going to go about calculating. Right now, I think an arbitrary, whatever number is going to be supplied, situation with 32 categories, and getting rid of the alternative fee calculations as well. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Any objection?
So,
What?
I would like to offer an alternative motion that we introduce based on the 2 major changes I indicated, on a per-trip basis, times the multiplier.
And narrow it down to the 2 changes.
And the three districts instead of 5.
All right.
I would like to make that change.
We have a motion by Mr. Satterley to make some amended changes at this time before introduction. Do we have a second?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you
Mr.
for
Satterley.
considering it.
Thank you, sir, for your insight. Any further discussion?
Excuse me?
Yes. I said thank you for your insight, what you told us. That was a compliment.
I understand. I thought I heard insults, but
No,
thank you.
no, I said your insight.
Thank you.
Any, no further discussion? Any opposition? Motion's introduced. We'll move on to, before we move on, I just want to let all the council members know, as Mr. Sadley, and I would ask that you please get with the administration that we do have just an introduction time, and we have some time before it comes back to us. And I wouldn't expect that anything would come back to us without some changes. And if we have some real good stuff, Doc, what you talked about, that'll bring it down to 6 pages. I'm good with less bureaucracy with good sense. Thank you, sir. We'll move on to agenda item number 13, introduction ordinance to impose a moratorium on major subdivision.
So move, Mr. Chairman.
We have a motion by Mr. Sadley, second by Mr. Lawler. I have 3 speakers here on number 13. Mike? Thank you, sir. Yeah. Well,
good evening. My name is Mike Latchley. I live on Highway 930 between the Muddy Creek backflow ditch and Henry Road, between Summerlin neighborhood, which was built about 9 years ago. And from that point, the water has changed its flow to across my property, which affects 6 property owners. My property catches the brunt of it. I asked the parish official, who can fix this problem? He told me, hold on.
You're talking about this ordinance that we have
The moratorium.
on a
I'm getting there.
moratorium.
Yes,
okay?
sir. This is towards the moratorium, all right?
Okay.
I support the moratorium.
Yes.
Because I am directly affected by a new neighborhood.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Okay.
Yes, he does.
still get-
I'm
I'm
not-
not done.
No, sir.
I'm not
No,
done.
Clint, don't. I
I
just
do
wanted
hope.
to make sure we knew
All
what he
right.
was
Hey,
talking
man, you
about.
robbed 15 seconds. Give me back. You cost me
You got it.
15 seconds. All right. I do hope when you cast this vote, you cast in favor of, but I think 6 months is not enough because the parish does not have enough time to catch up on the municipalities. Y'all have enough time to think about it and make your decision. But who's going to contract repairing the ditches, the roads, the property that's destroyed, like mine? I tell you what I'm going to do. Out of my own pocket, I'm going to fix my property. And I'm going to channel the water from these 6 pieces of property out of my own pocket. I'm going to rent the equipment. I'm going to dig the ditch. Okay, I'm going to sacrifice my property. I'm not going to tell anything. I like to send the bill to you. But I can't do that. Out of the goodness of my heart, I'm going to help my neighbors. Just think about this moratorium, okay? I don't think it's long enough. The parish needs a little more time to catch up. And these land developers need to have a heart and quit thinking about the almighty dollar instead of taking from my parish. Give something back. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Next, we have Troy Carrios. Zioli. All right.
All right. My name's Troy Carasioli, and I live in Seven Oaks subdivision. I am also in favor of a temporary moratorium on large subdivisions or major subdivisions. We, the people of Ascension Parish, are suffering the consequences of this false statement of no adverse impact. That is a false statement that misleads the council, and I'm really shocked that the council accepts that. You add vehicles and new houses to the infrastructure here, which is already deficient, and it will have a adverse impact. It's time for this council to start representing the people that elected them to office. This is one very upset member of your community that actually fled East Baton Rouge Parish because of the insanity of the traffic system that the elected officials put in place in East Baton Rouge Parish. It has come here to Ascension Parish, and it's time for it to end. As the gentleman said earlier, it's time to start representing the people that have elected you and not the individuals that have influence and come here and make false statements. Now, if you're really interested in pursuing this no adverse impact statement, which is a false statement, I would strongly recommend that you go talk to the organization known as LAPEL. They are the governing body in the state of Louisiana that governs professional engineering. And when it comes to ethics, if an engineer makes a false statement and it's proven, then that engineer suffers the consequences, whether it's a fine or loss of license. Okay? Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to speak.
Thank you, Troy. Next, we have Ms. Catherine Gofford.
Thank you, Chairman Kluwat. I spoke at the Strategic Planning Committee meeting when this was brought before the committee, and I was very encouraged to see that it was a 5-0 vote. The resolution, or the document, was actually written by Councilman Dawson. I'm very appreciative of that. Both Dawson and Lawler placed this on asked this to be placed on the agenda, and Councilman Satterley graciously did so. So it was a joint effort. Much confusion exists about this proposal, and as I'm out in the community, I have people in my face, a moratorium, and they're just going bananas. So I want to say a few statements about it to help the public understand. This is not stopping all currently approved development in the parish. This moratorium will not stop builders from building. This will not stop businesses from selling materials. We have over 6,000 lots approved for development. There is no way builders can build 1,000 homes a month, because this is a 6-month moratorium, okay? That would mean more than 30 homes a day, every day, for the next 6 months. That's impossible. Nobody is being stopped from developing, okay? This is a pause in accepting only new applications for major subdivisions that are developed of over 20 homes in order to set an impact fee in place to address the needs that are going to come with the development. This does not affect commercial, does not affect industrial, a family that wants to build a home, okay, or family partitions. Only applications for major subdivisions are affected. We have a 6-month time frame. There are multiple cases where moratoria are discussed and upheld as reasonable in Louisiana. There are 3 good reasons to adopt this resolution. Number 1, to prevent a rush to development. Number 2, to prevent inefficient and ill-conceived growth. And number 3, to prevent immediate construction that might be inconsistent with the provisions of a future plan, which we need to be making. All 3 of these points have been taking place at our Planning Commission over the last few months. A moratorium is a proactive solution to the unbridled growth in our parish. Please vote favorably on this ordinance when you have an opportunity to do it. On major subdivision development only. And I want to thank you for listening. I want to place these comments in the public record.
Thank you, Ms. Goppel. Thank you. We have no other speakers. Any? Where?
Can I speak?
Yeah, sign in with the secretary.
Can I sign up?
Yeah. Yeah. Speak.
Just want to do it so you can get one last name right, so.
Is that cool? You'll get that one.
That's why he said he doesn't have that right. Do you relate?
Sometimes it's hard to read when the names are written.
No, I'm just playing with you. Hi, I'm Dustin
You didn't spell your
Clue.
last name right.
I forget the A often.
Dustin Clue.
Hi, I'm Dustin Clue. I live off of Weber City Road. Thank you guys for everything you're doing. I found it kind of funny. I was watching some March Madness today at work, and one thing they were interviewing a coach, and they said, "What's the worst decision you ever made?" And he said, "I waited too long to take a timeout." And I kind of thought about this meeting tonight. You know, we're hearing a lot of things about this moratorium, and one thing I talk to people on both sides of it, and somehow there's this great fear that, you know, we do this 6-month moratorium and everybody goes and finds this other promised land between New Orleans and Baton Rouge and just starts building and forgets about us. I believe in 6 months if we do this moratorium in 6 months, we will have 50+ plats when it comes 6 months in one day on the desk. I think this is a great time for breathing. Let's get these impact fees, if they're going to come. Hey, here's a time. We've had 2 years. Let's give it 6 months. Maybe this will give us the pressure. If y'all are anything like me, I work better under pressure. Mr. Lawler, I read your website today, and one of the things on it was the moratorium. That's kind of something you ran on. Just want to put that I'm in favor of a 6-month moratorium, and I also want to say that, you know, I'm an insurance agent. I make money off of every person that moves into this parish. So I'm not against development by one bit, but I just think we need to do it a little bit smarter. Thank you, guys. Appreciate y'all what y'all do.
Thank you, Dustin. Thank you. That's all the speakers we have. Any objection?
Comment again.
Yes.
Chairman Clue, I'd like to thank you for not interrupting your nephew.
That's the first time. He was bound by law.
You finished, Mr. Senator?
Yes, sir, I am.
Okay. Any objection? Motion passes. We'll move on to agenda item. Let's see, we done strolled around, so we'll go ahead and finish up, and we'll go into 14. Reading of ordinance to declare surplus.
Don't you need to go back and
I
finish
will
the
go
other?
back.
Consent agenda.
I know where.
You want me to read 14?
No, we're gonna go back to 7. Okay. Like I said. Chair would entertain a motion for the consent agenda.
Motion to introduce.
Motion by Ms. Carrie Cazzo. What's that? Second by Mr. Todd Lambert. discussion? Any opposition? Motion passes. We'll move on to agenda item number 8, approval of the Mental Health Department to solicit quotes and purchase malpractice insurance at a competitive rate for the year 2016. Parish President Matassa or Miss Suzanne Hamilton.
Ms. Hamilton will handle this. It's about her malpractice insurance.
Thank you, ma'am. How you doing, Suzanne?
I'm doing well. How are you? The reason for the motion is because Harry Robert is our insurance agent on record, and all insurance purchases go through him. However, for malpractice insurance for the mental health counselors, he's not able to give us the best deal. He works through his existing contacts, and they don't do malpractice insurance, so they put together a packet that costs us about $15,000. We are able to purchase through the professional associations, through American Counseling Association and others who specialize in malpractice insurance, and the maximum that we've ever paid with them is $5,000. I'm looking currently at a company that would be as low as $2,000. So allowing us to be able to purchase directly through the professional associations saves us about $10,000.
We have a motion by Mr. Todd Lambert, second by Ms. Cazzo. Any discussion? Any opposition? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Suzanne. We'll move to agenda item number 9, approval of adoption of the Capital Region Area Floodplain Task Force Craft Multi-Jurisdictional Program for Public Information, PPI, document for credit under Community Rating System, CRS, of the National Flood Insurance Program, NFIP, Department of Development. Mr. Barrington?
Yes, Ms. Marcy Shivers is here
Ms.
to
Shivers?
really explain this. I just have the resolution.
All right, Marcy.
I'm Marcy Shivers. I'm the Ascension Parish Floodplain Coordinator. And what we have here today is the PPI document, which is the Program for Public Information. Ascension Parish currently participates in the National Flood Insurance Program, and under that program, we participate under the Community Rating System, which gives us premium discounts on flood insurance. I'm also in the CRAFT group, which consists of surrounding parishes here in Ascension, and Livingston, Baton Rouge, Zachary, Livingston, Denham Springs, those parishes. And we've come together to come up with ideas to get outreach out to the public, to get, the word out about flood insurance, flooding, get into schools and let kids know what's flooding, things to do in a flood and stuff like that. So if we get this document approved under the community rating system, we'll get extra points, and hopefully we'll get some reductions in the
Motion by
Second.
Mr. Dempsey Lambert, second by Mr. John Cagney.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any discussion? Any opposition? Motion passes. We'll move on to agenda item number 10, introductory ordinance to amend the 2016 budget. Mr. Barrington.
It's just an introduction.
We motioned on that already.
Oh, we did.
We did that.
Yeah, we did that.
Good deal. I'm getting confused at this point. We'll go to item number 14. There we go. Reading of ordinance to declare surplus and transfer title pursuant to the cooperative endeavor agreement for equipment no longer needed by Fire Department District Number 3 for the use by Fire Protection District Number 1.
To declare below described property as surplus and transfer title to a cooperative endeavor agreement attached hereto and made a part hereof, whereas the parish of Ascension has certain assets that is surplus and no longer needed by the Ascension Parish Fire District Number 3, whereas Ascension Parish Fire District Number 1 has need for the equipment, whereas be it ordained the Ascension Parish Council acting in its capacity as governing authority that it hereby declares the listing of assets attached hereto and made a part hereof, Exhibit A, as surplus, and authorizes the transfer of all rights, title, and interest in the assets to Ascension Fire District Number 1, as is without warranty of any kind of terms and conditions set forth in the cooperative endeavor agreement attached hereto and made a part hereof, is Exhibit B. In the event any portion of the ordinance ever held invalid or unconstitutional for any reason by any court of any competent jurisdiction over it, such board shall be deemed separate, distinct, and independent, shall not affect the validity of the remaining portions of the ordinance. The ordinance shall be in full effect as permitted by law. The ordinance submitted to a vote. The vote thereon was as follows.
Motion, open public hearing.
Motion open public hearing by Mr. Todd Lambert. Second by Ms. Cagney.
Close.
Motion closed by Mr. Todd Lambert, second by Mr. Dempsey Lambert. We entertain a motion to move the ordinance.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Motion by Mr. Dempsey Lambert, second by Ms. Cazzo. Any discussion? Any opposition? Motion passes. I think we done moved around this agenda tonight to where we pretty much got it all. So at this time, we would entertain a motion by Mr. Cagnolotti.
So moved to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn by Mr.
Second.
Cagnolotti, second by Mr. Lawler. Any discussion? Any opposition?
I'm gonna be the close.